What's up, comic book fans? And welcome to Comics Icons. Now, JJ, what they called me. And today, we got more Blood Hunt. This time with the first of another 3-part tie-in miniseries called Strange Academy Blood Hunt. And if you missed any part of this Blood Hunt event, then I'll place a card at the top of your screen right now. And I'll put a link up at the end of this video as well. And now I'll admit that I'm not overly familiar with the characters in this story, but I'm gonna try my best to bring you guys this whole Blood Hunt event. And I will say though that one good thing about events like this is that they introduce us to characters that we may not always be familiar with, and it opens the door for them to shine. Now, I'm sure a bunch of you guys are already familiar with this group, but I just wanted to say that, to say bear with me, because I'm not. But I did find some of them to be pretty interesting, which made this a pretty cool book for me. But the Strange Academy is a place where some of the best young magic users are trained. And with the bloody events of Blood Hunt, these kids actually end up playing a major role going forward. So if you guys are ready to find out how a group of kids can be effective in this massive event that's already seen Earth's mightiest heroes go down, then you guys know what time it is. Let's get it. So this story is shown through the eyes of a new character named Paya. Paya or Pia, I think Paya, I'm not 100% sure though. But Paya makes her debut appearance here. And she starts off the story by thinking to herself, let's play a game. Let's count how many times I lie to the people that I want to be best friends with. And she just so happens to be walking with the other children from the academy in New Orleans on a vampire tour before the events of Blood Hunt begin. And the first lie comes when the son of Dormammu, Doyle Dormammu, asks her if her familiar will come out for the tour, and she tells him that he sleeps during the day. Then as the tour guide gives the tour, Doyle continues on about Paya's familiar. I bet your familiar is like one of those creatures that's super cute and then gets all evil in battle and just eats dudes whole, he tells her. And she responds with a nervous smile and giggle. Yep, pretty much, she tells him. But that's lie number 2. And 3 if you count the fake smile on her face. But then when he does come out, she knows that can only mean one thing. Something is wrong. And just then another one of the students, Shaylee, notices that something strange is happening with the skies, like a storm's rolling in. But she didn't get any notifications on her weather app about it. And after the sun death occurs and the skies are fully blackened, their tour guide is attacked by a vampire. And this is even worse than Paya could have imagined. And as the children prepare for a fight against the vampires as more converge on them, the tour guide reawakens, now a part of the vampire faction. And he instantly goes on the attack against the children. But of course, these aren't normal children. They're magic users, and they're able to fight off these vampires. Although one of them, Germaine, he's terrified of vampires. And because of that, he's not able to cast his animal projections. So the new girl, Paya, breaks a shovel over her knee and lunges in to stake the vampire through the heart, saving Germaine. And the rest of the children have never seen Paya get down before. So after seeing it for the first time, they think she's incredible. She's definitely one of them now, they tell her. And she loves this feeling, but she knows there'll be a price to pay later, because there's always a price. And when they look and they see a full horde of vampires coming for them, she feels that this is the price instantly coming due. But they're quickly able to flee back to the academy where they're met with Dr. Voodoo, who uses his magic to decimate these vampires as soon as they cross onto the school grounds. Then he sends the rest of the children back inside to their chambers, with the exception of Paya though. And when Doyle asks her what's that all about, she says that she doesn't have any idea, which is another lie. And now she thinks that she's probably up to about 5 or 6 of those lies by now. But back in the office though with Dr. Voodoo, he asks her if she knows anything about what's going on here. But she tells him that she doesn't, and that much really is true. Then he tells her that this darkness has covered the entire world. But she really doesn't know anything about it, and she swears as much. But one person does believe her, as Dr. Strange's spirit shows up and defends her. Then he requests to speak with Dr. Voodoo alone. Meanwhile, though, Paya and the rest of the students listen in from outside of the door as Strange tells Dr. Voodoo about everything that's transpired so far, with sudden death and Blade orchestrating everything, and that the only hope for humanity is the Montesi formula. And Dr. Voodoo is vehemently against it, but they must, Strange tells them, and they'll need the Darkhold to do it. And aside from the Essence and Wanda, who's missing right now after Blood Hunt issue number 1, Strange felt a vague imprint of it in a forest on Madripoor. And as the students still listen on from outside, they decide that they've got to find the Darkhold so they can stop this and save the day. And initially, Doyle Dormammu is the voice of reason here against going off on their own. But the rest of them feel like this is their duty, and it's bigger than them. And they heard Strange say that the book is in the forest in Madripoor. They can go and get the book and then bring it back and decide what to do from there. So they all decide to go, and as they leave, Paya thinks that these kids have no idea of the power they're up against, and she's gonna have to go to stop them from doing something stupid. So the students all walk through a portal and are instantly taken from the school to Madripoor. And lucky for them, Madripoor is mostly taken up by the city, so the forest shouldn't have much ground for them to cover. But when they expect to find a book just laying around somewhere, they're stunned when the first thing they see is not a book at all, but a small boy. And when they approach this boy asking if he knows anything about where they can find the Darkhold, he reveals that they have indeed found it, because he is the Darkhold. And when he reveals it and prepares to defend himself, the students all go in for the attack. But this Darkhold child is way too powerful, and he takes out these students with ease. And then he stalks Paya. But her familiar, Tito Peeping, jumps out again and attempts to defend her by lunging at the Darkhold child. But the child simply backhands the tiny creature like it was nothing, which makes Paya very sad. All Tito Peeping ever wanted to do was help Paya, no matter who she is or what she's done. And she thinks to herself that the next thing that happens was gonna happen anyway. But now, she actually enjoys it, as she gets up and rushes at the Darkhold child, with her eyes turned red, revealing that she is a vampire, and she bites the neck of the Darkhold child. And that, my friends, is the end of the story. But we do have more as we get a little more insight into both Paya and the Darkhold child. As we pick up on a train traveling across country, we meet up with that same Darkhold child, and he's traveling with Agatha Harkness. And right now, Agatha is highly agitated because this child keeps calling her mummy, and she emphatically states that she is not his mummy. It's merely a disguise for when other people are around. But the child decides that he wants to have some fun, and he runs away from Agatha on this train, making her give chase. And meanwhile, he turns the conductor into a tiger and sends him after Agatha. And then he leaps off the back of the train and into a nearby river. And when a good Samaritan and his dog, while on a rowboat, spot the child, they row over to rescue him. But the appearance of the man is boring to the child. So he casts a spell and turns this man into some type of twisted-looking demon under the child's control. And now his new demon helper rolls him right up to Madripoor, explaining how he had gotten there before the Strange Academy children found him. And then we pick up with Paya before she had come to the Strange Academy, as one night she's walking alone in the dark and Tito Peeping runs right past her. Come to find out, he was being chased by a vampire, and as the vampire crashes into her and they smash through a wooden fence, her immediate reaction is to grab a piece of wood and drive it right through the heart of the vampire, and saving the little creature in turn. But as she calls for it to come back out since it's safe now, another vampire sneaks up on her and everything goes black. And as soon as she wakes up, she had already known what she had become. And then Dr. Voodoo appears with Tito Peeping on his shoulder, and he offers to help Paya. But he sees that he's too late and she's already been bitten and turning. But the creature that she had just saved, Tito Peeping, runs over to her, covering her with a shield, protecting her from the sun. So he essentially turned her into a daywalker like Blade, kinda. But then Dr. Voodoo helps her back to her feet and brings her inside and tells her all about the other students of the Strange Academy. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the issue. What's up, comic book fans? And welcome to Comics Icons. Now, JJ, what they call me. And today, we got more Blood Hunt. This time with Strange Academy Blood Hunt number 2. So this issue starts off through the eyes of Germaine, who's absolutely petrified of vampires, which we actually witnessed in the first issue. And when we see him, it's a flashback to one night where he had barely survived a vampire attack and how bad his fear takes over when he's around them. And then we move forward in time some years later to when Pia joined the academy and became his newest friend. They had clicked right away and she even saved his life. And now it turns out she's the one thing he fears most in the world. As we transition back to now, right after she had bitten the Darkhold child. And after seeing this, the rest of the students are stunned at what they just witnessed. But Pia defends that the child is only knocked out, but she was saving her own life by taking him down. If the Montesi formula is used, then every vampire on Earth would be wiped out, including her. And it was in that moment that everything for Germaine had turned upside down. And now after that revelation, all of the kids are now speechless. Pia's a friend, and if that formula wipes out their friend, then they need to make sure that Dr. Strange can't use it. They've got to protect their friend. But then they all realize that the Darkhold child is missing now. Meanwhile, back at the Strange Academy, Gus and Toth come running to Dr. Voodoo with a message from Shaylee that they found the Darkhold, but it's a he and not an it. And they need help. But Dr. Voodoo insists that no one is to leave the school grounds and to tell Shaylee that they need to return home immediately and to stay away from the Darkhold. And as Gus and Toth reluctantly leave from Dr. Voodoo's office, they're followed out by a little white mouse, who then transforms into Agatha Harkness, offering to help. Meanwhile, back in Madripoor, the kids all walk the streets trying to find the Darkhold, and as they walk, Pia apologizes to Germaine for keeping her secret. But he understands why she didn't tell him. But then they approach a group of vampires attacking people, so they jump in to save the day. Plus, they're kind of blocking their path, so they kind of don't have a choice but to fight. But then they spot the Darkhold amongst all of the chaos, and they give chase to him. And as he flees, he tells the children that their friend Pia has already proven that vampires don't deserve a chance, and he's gonna rid the world of them. So the kids continue the chase, but the Darkhold manages to get away from them again. But he doesn't get very far as we see Gus and Toth show up, and they've managed to cut off the Darkhold. And then Gus and Toth relay Dr. Voodoo's message about staying away from the Darkhold, who agrees and is just about to attack them until Gus finishes that Agatha Harkness actually helped them portal there. And then that mention of Agatha Harkness scares the hell out of the Darkhold. Please, please don't make me go back to that awful woman. I'll do anything, he pleads to the students. But then Pia insists that they don't believe him. But the Darkhold blames her for trying to murder him anyway, although Pia rebuts that she knew he'd be fine, but he was about to wipe out her and all her kind. And then they go back and forth about vampires. But then he tells them that this is his one chance to do the right thing and save humanity. As the Darkhold, the darkest magic is always flowed through him. And then all of a sudden he became somewhat human, and he began to feel things like never before. Things like life and joy and wonder. And he thought that Agatha would help him come into his new self. But instead, she just wanted him to use his darkness to hide her from her pursuers. She never cared about what he wanted. And when Doyle asks what it is that he wants, he tells him that he just wants a chance to find out what he truly is and what he can be. And he was only beginning to learn what freedom actually felt like when the vampires started taking over. And only he has the power to stop them. But then Agatha arrives, claiming to be worried about the child. But he refuses to go back with her, and he immediately casts a spell and vanishes. And now all the kids are angry that he's gotten away and that they always seem to be a step behind. But then they're met with a strange visitor who descends down on them, telling them that there is another way. And we see that it's Dr. Doom, who tells the children that only he can achieve it. And they need to come with him to take part in the world's salvation. And since it doesn't involve wiping out another species, the kids are game for it. But they notice that Pia is gone and that the Darkhold must have taken her with. So they decide to help Dr. Doom. But they've got to stop the Darkhold first, as we then see him dragging Pia into what looks to be a wrestling or a boxing match in a full arena. Like it's not a whole vampire apocalypse happening outside. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the issue. What's up, comic book fans? And welcome to Comics Icons. Now, JJ, what they call me. And today, we got more Blood Hunt. This time with Strange Academy Blood Hunt number 3, and the finale to this tie-in series. So we picked this issue up right where the last one ended, and the Darkhold child is taking Pia to an arena in what looks to be a wrestling match or maybe MMA. But he tells Pia that since she's so convinced that vampires deserve to survive, he's decided to conduct a little experiment. So the child then turns everyone in the entire arena to monsters. This experiment will be survival of the fittest. Pia, meanwhile, initially plans to wait until the kid lets his guard down to attack him again. But after the arena is changed, she chooses to instead pull out her phone discreetly to let her friends know where she is. She's gonna need backup, she thinks. And then we pick up with the other students as they continue to fight off vampires in search of their friend Pia. But as they're fighting, Germaine gets Pia's message and tells the rest of the students that she's at the arena and needs their help. And as Germaine thinks that he messed up in worrying so much about his own problems, that he didn't realize how much he was hurting his friend when she needed him most. And yet she still managed to save him. So he vows not to let it happen again. And when he got that message, he wasted no time in running after his friend. But the problem with that is that he was so focused on saving Pia that he took off without the rest of the team and finds himself alone and surrounded by vampires, leaving Germaine looking around for help. Meanwhile, back at the arena, Pia's in the fight of her young life, as the Darkhold kid keeps sending more and more monsters after Pia as he taunts that he's giving her the chance to prove herself. But from the looks of things, Pia appeared to be losing this fight, prompting the kid to prepare to unleash the Montesi formula. That is, until he's interrupted by Agatha Harkness, who's found him once again. Back with Germaine, though, as he too fights for his life, now against a horde of vampires. But he's then saved by the rest of the students as they finally catch up to him. And then after they've wiped out the horde, they grill Germaine about running off alone like that. He can't help Pia if he's dead. And that Germaine, although wants to help, he's really just punishing his own self, which helps no one. If they're gonna save Pia, it's gonna be as a team. Meanwhile, back with Pia, she watches on as now the Darkhold child fights for his own survival now from Agatha, who tells him that he's too impulsive and too powerful to be left alone, and he's coming with her either as is or in his original form of the book. And then Agatha blasts the boy with her magic, and now he's no longer able to use his powers, so he decides to take off and hide, just thankful now that he's still in human form. But remember when Pia thought earlier about catching the kid with his guard down? She finally gets her chance and she thinks that now is the time to take the kid down, and she catches up with him, but now it's different. Now he's experiencing fear and he tells Pia that he's scared. He finally understands now what it means to be human. It's not survival of the fittest, but instead vulnerability. And not only that, but now he's realizing the horrible things that he's done to Pia. He's a monster, but he's also a boy and he just wants to live. And then he officially apologizes to Pia for being so cruel, which makes Pia change her disposition. And now she thinks to herself that this is probably going to be a huge mistake. But she pulls out her familiar, Tito Pepping, and places him on the child's head and tells him that Tito will give him extra protection so he can get his magic back. But she also lets him know that this doesn't mean she fully trusts the Darkhold child, merely that she's gonna need his help since Agatha is likely gonna try to take her out too. Meanwhile, Agatha decides to get some extra help to catch Lil Darkhold, so she decides to clone herself into many Agathas, while Pia pulls out that phone again to update her backup. And then we pick back up with the rest of the students as they've encountered more vampires. And Germaine gets the next message from Pia, and they know they've got to hurry up and get to that arena ASAP. But back at the arena, Pia, the Darkhold child, and that old man that the Darkhold child had turned into a monster to row his boat a couple issues back with his dog, engage in a fight with Agatha and her copies. But the Darkhold kid lets Pia know that they're gonna have to find the real Agatha amongst these copies to take her down. And just as Pia locates the real Agatha, her backup finally arrives as Doyle, Dormammu, and Germaine come running in swinging. And then the rest of the students follow and take on the Agatha copies. But while Pia and the students take on the rest of the Agatha copies, the original gains the high ground, so to speak, on Pia. And if she takes a shot at Pia, then her little familiar will leave the Darkhold and run to Pia. But before she can take her shot, the Darkhold takes his and drops Agatha. "What did you do?" a fallen Agatha asks the Darkhold. And he tells her that he hit her with the same spell that she was aiming at Pia with. That's what she gets for messing with his friends. And as a defeated Agatha retreats, the rest of the students ask Pia what she wants them to do with the Darkhold. But she holds them back. He's not quite earned her trust in full yet, but he has earned a shot at getting into her good graces, which is a surprise to everyone, including the Darkhold. In fact, she and Doyle even invite the Darkhold to join them in the Strange Academy so he can learn how to exist in this world, which is music to the Darkhold's ears. He revels in the chance at having friends and belonging. But now that they've accomplished the goal of saving Pia, it's now time to join up with Dr. Doom and go save the world. So they activate a portal using a coin from Doom, and then we pick up later on in Castle Von Doom in Latveria, just after the scene from the Blood Hunt series issue 4, when Doom walked in with Stephen and Clea Strange. And side note, Doyle with his suit on and his head on fire is a sick design choice. I dig it, for real. But as Doom walks in with the Strangers, it's time for them to combine all their magics as Doom weaves their powers together in an act of magic never before seen. And then he tells them all that he will lead the ritual and he will focus their efforts. He will save the world, and all he requests of them is everything. And as Doom is surely about to do something dope as hell, that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the issue and this tie-in miniseries. So what did you guys think about this Strange Academy series? I personally liked it. I had never read a Strange Academy title before this, so I really didn't know what to expect. But these kids are kind of litty, so I'm feeling it. But what do you guys think Doom is gonna do? I remember in Blood Hunt issue 4, Doom had told Strange that he would need to relinquish the title of Sorcerer Supreme to Doom in order for him to do what needs to be done. So I'm assuming from this, that must have happened. So I really can't wait to see how they bring all this to a close with the end of this event. But do you guys think that Doom is gonna end up being the hero of this event? You guys know I wanna hear all your thoughts and theories down in the comments. And as always, if you guys enjoyed this video and this channel, and you'd like to support the channel, then you can do so by stopping by the Comics Icons store and picking up some Comics Icons merchandise, including the background music heard right here in this video available for download. Or by joining the Iconic Fan Club channel membership, and there will be a link in the description to join. But with your membership, your voice will be heard during our interactive live streams with yours truly. Or we could talk about everything that's been going down in these issues, as well as ones that you'd like for me to go over in the future and other comic news. Plus, you guys will get loyalty badges, member shoutouts, and up to 20% off of Comics Icons merchandise from the Comics Icons store. Plus, we've got tiers to the memberships as well, beginning at just 99 cents. Or you guys can donate to the channel with a super thanks. And if you're not able to do any of that, then you can still be a huge help to the future of this channel by dropping a like, share, and subscribing to Comics Icons for more icons in the comic book world. But ladies and gentlemen, it's about that time.
I'm out.